So, Mr. Parker, what did we do today?
We ran a lot for far and a lot of time.
So we got to run a half marathon through our hometown, my stomping grounds, and we did it together.
Did it?
This was not my first. This was Greg's first, and we had a goal to
do it under 2 hours
together
under 2 hours.
So I asked, are we doing this fully together? Do you want me to pace you? And he was up for the challenge, and I would say you kind of knocked it out of the park.
I got there. I achieved the goal. There's a fine line between brave and stupid, and I flirted with it a couple times today.
Yeah. So we did it, 13.1 miles. And many people would say, wow, that's a whole lot. Other people would say,
I would say
that's like, a moderate run. And it's all about perspective. But so same with the way you approach your training, your fueling, and even the race day itself. So over the past, 10 weeks?
10 weeks, yeah.
We've committed to a training program, and we did dedicated intervals runs. We did a lot of real fueling, specifically this week. And we looked at the science behind how to show up your best on race day. And we looked at, okay, we have to taper this week in terms of mileage, in terms of intensity, in terms of just sheer volume. We looked at also carbo loading, right? So that your body had enough energy stores for your muscles to be able to perform. And I personally feel really well, a little overly well.
I didn't, but we were smart and we brought fuel along with us, even though you normally don't fuel during your runs.
Yeah.
And I rarely did, but I knew having it would probably be a decent idea, which was good because I had mine and your fuel.
Right.
And that's what got me across the finish line.
Yeah. And really just a general rule of thumb, anything longer than 90 minutes, you should be fueling and you should be timing your fuel appropriately. But that's a different conversation. We dedicated to training, we dedicated to fueling, but we also dedicated to enjoying the run.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of joy in the journey. And for me, it looks a lot different than Greg.
Very different. Very different.
Greg, talk to me about what you enjoyed about the whole process of training and showing up today, and what you enjoyed most about today's race and what you anticipate for the coming months. Talk me through all that.
A lot of questions.
I'll remind you of them.
Yeah, I'll start with the training. So I liked having structure in my training. It gave me something where I had less opportunity to hey, I'll go down and I'll work out. I'm good at getting down to the basement and working out, but am I putting in 80% effort, 100% effort? Am I of whatever I'm at that day? Okay, I could be at 70%, but am I giving all of that 70%? Or am I saying I'm at 70%, but I'm only giving actually 40%? So with the training program, it was good because it was this, it took the guesswork out of it. I didn't have to say what am I doing today? How do I figure this out? Here's what you're doing today. And I'm like, cool, check off the box. I printed it out. I had it as a habit tracker. I checked off every single day after my workout. When I came into work, I was sitting on my desk over here. I sat down, checked it off was my first thing. I did that. So I really enjoyed that piece. I knew it was going to be a challenge to do under 2 hours. I'm trying not to sound arrogant, but that's an aggressive time, especially for your first marathon or half marathon.
Half marathon.
But it was an aggressive time, and I knew most people don't try for that right out of the gates. So for me, I was well, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go for something hard. I knew it was gonna be difficult, and I chose it because I can do hard things, so I wanted to try something hard. So I appreciated that piece of it in the training. In terms of today, so I find joy in nature and being outside, exercising, and like being like, it's a way for me to reconnect with myself, right? Like connecting back into nature. There's all kinds of studies about like creating awe and all that. That's different talk. But for me, I trained on these roads that we ran today. So like I was like, I know that at the base of the wall is this hill. And I mean it's smacks you in the face. But I know after that you go downhill and you go into like my favorite part of the course. There's like almost like I call it a tunnel of trees. Like you go into a hollow, and like in the mornings, like the sun's coming up, it's gorgeous, and it's like worth it. Like you get to the top of the hill and you get to the bottom of the hill, and then the bottom of the hill makes it so much worth it. So like I loved that, and being in our hometown and knowing that like the money we paid for it did go to charity in our local community was also a nice cherry on top. And then in terms of today, like we listened to the music. I had the left earbud, she had the right earbud. We were listening to music. We were listening to the same music. I tried to dance as much as you did. That didn't come up. I tried to sing as much as you did. I was making sure my breath was still there on some parts. But like you find little joys in little moments, right? And sometimes that moment is like, I'm gonna catch that person. Or like, okay, I know where I am on this piece of the course. I know this is the next thing coming up. I just get through this, and then there's that, and then like you just get to the next like flags, next aid station, or next milestone, or like whatever. And those are like those small victories along the way. But for you, it is different how you find joy in events like that. So I want to hear you explain to the people how you find joy on runs, because it is unique and it always makes me smile. And you put a lot of smiles on a lot of faces today, which was also very helpful for me because I was smiling with you, even though I was not as boisterous.
So yeah, I
Tell
mean,
about it.
Before we get there,
Deflect already, good.
So I want to go back to you huffing and puffing. You said there were a couple of times for good reason though, because there were a couple of times, like you said, this was a challenge for you. This was something that you hadn't done before. It was definitely a more aggressive time than people typically go out for as their first. You had different reasons behind that. We're not going to unpack that right now. But you had those moments during the course where you were really huffing and puffing. And it was like, I literally felt like tugging back.
Yeah, you had 160 pounds dragging on you for your race today, and that's okay.
It wasn't a race. It was a long run through my hometown where they blocked the streets, and I happened to get to run without the worry of cars or wild animals, and it was daylight. It was great. But you were huffing and puffing at it several times today. And before we get to my thing that you asked me, I want to deflect a little bit, because everyone at some point in an endurance race, it really doesn't matter how long the distance is. If you are going out for something and you're really trying and you're huffing and puffing, there are moments where it's like, oh my gosh, I want nothing more than to just slow down and stop. And you kept going. And my question to you is, what was it like for you in those moments when it's easy to give into that temporary discomfort or temporary comfort and that temptation that's there, right? Like you're literally in control. You could stop at any time.
Yeah.
What was it like for you to assess, is this a want? Like, am I feeling like I want to slow down and potentially throw away the goal that I've trained so hard for? Or is it a need to slow down given my heart rate, given the metrics, given my fuel sources and my muscles? What was that process like for you in between the years?
There's a lot. So and it's usually a similar conversation even when I'm by myself. There's always this idea in my head of like rest, not quit. And like, it's okay if I pull back on my timing as long as I keep moving, because forward is a pace. And especially when you're out there and there are so many people running and you've done all this training and you've done all the work, it's like, I don't want to, I'm not here to quit. Like, today's not the day to do that. Tomorrow we'll talk. I'm
We're not trying for a half marathon tomorrow.
But like, yeah, so at the end of the day, it's like, I know, and that's a piece of like me coming back into myself of saying like, I know I need to pull back. I know I don't need to stop. And also knowing the consequences of stopping. Right. So like, it's easy, yes, to say like, oh, if I walk right now, it's going to make me feel better. But at the end, the longer term or the consequence of that choice is that it's going to suck a lot worse even further down the line, or is when you do restart running, right? Like, so it's like either like slow down to a jog, but stay jogging, like keep the movement going. You can be at a walking pace, but keep the movement going. But that like stop start on your body is a very difficult consequence to have, especially if you're running 13 miles, 13.1.
Especially if you have a goal. Like if you have a goal in mind and you've trained for it, to say like, well, I'm going to walk right now because I want to, and I'm going to potentially give up that goal. You trained for that.
I did. And I don't know if like, so that goal I knew was a stretch goal. I think that's one thing. And it was like, I'm going to do whatever I can. I knew with my training, I put myself in a position to be close. Like if I came in at 2:05 today, I'd probably be just as happy. I'm happier that I got under 2. But like, I didn't check my paces some of the time, like that I thought I would, or what I normally would on my own. I knew that I'm out there. You just need to be in a position within a mile to get there, right? Like I knew I was going to be close one way or the other because I put in the training. So for me, it was just like, I didn't have a choice. I never gave myself an out, never gave myself a choice because like, I'm already out here.
You had already made the decision.
I already made the decision that I'm here on race day. I'm running this course. Even if I wanted to turn off the course and run home, by the time
we saw Pemberton, you're like, hey, I could be going home.
Yeah, we saw our road, and I was like, at this point, like it's actually shorter to go and finish the race than it is to turn and go home.
No, it's a mile home. It's about the same.
But at the same time, like there was no choice in the matter. I never gave myself that choice, and that's just
what did this run mean to you then? Like, what was the why?
I wanted to do something hard. I wanted to like. I think I was just like going through the motions, and there were so many things that like. I'm a type B person, so I'm very good at being like, yeah, I'll get it done. It'll be fine. And like, then I started looking at my training program. I'm like, yeah, I'm just kind of floating along, like maintaining, which is like a fine goal to have. Like, I still want to continue to maintain. But like for me, I was like, well, you know, like I'm not an endurance runner. I'm a sprint and walk kind of person. Like
fast twitch muscle fibers.
Yeah, those things. Like I will.
We came out of the gates. He's like, I was like, where are we going? Why are we in this journey of 30.1 to go?
I was like, I gotta at least get ahead of a pace.
I was like, I know this course, and everyone went out way too hot.
Yeah, that was
including the Pacers. I was like,
yeah,
you don't know this course.
Yeah. But
welcome to my hometown.
Yeah. Everything is a hill.
People were like, oh my god, this is the hilliest course ever.
Yeah, that was also an aggressive course to go for my first.
Yeah, I mean, there were times you're at like a 12% grade or 15% grade. It wasn't line road steep, but it was still.
My total elevation was like 847 feet total, like up. So like it was a lot, and like my choice was just like, hey, in the spring you had done Wilmington. And you did a half, and we got the kids there, and we got like them the chance to see you finish, and that was exciting for them, and that's like a really cool thing. So for me, I'm like, well, I don't really see. This is gonna sound selfish. They don't see me doing those things. They see me just floating along, just doing what I got to do, finishing up this, do this, then this. So I was like, I want to train for it. I want to do something hard. And they didn't see me at the finish line today. But the first thing Ben did was like, "Where's your medal?" So it's like, yeah,
right
like
on.
he knows that like you get something out of it when you put something into it. So for me, it was just like I wanted the challenge, wanted to do something hard. I wanted to do something outside of my comfort zone because endurance running is not my thing. Still not my thing.
One day. Maybe.
We all have our things, dear.
We all have our thing.
But so that was like my wife. Like, just most people don't even try. So why not try?
Why not try?
Yeah.
But it's like everybody on that course is huffing and puffing. And everybody, like I said, they went out way too fast because it's a super hilly course and you don't know it.
So not everybody on the course. So
I mean, I still huff and puff. My legs give out before my heart does. But when we were running this, I'm a bit different the way I approach races because I've had races in my life that I've hated and I dread and I don't want to go to them. And you get on the start line, it's like your gut drops and you're like, oh my God, I really don't want to do this. And then you're like elbowing each other in the crowds. And high school was terrible.
Yeah, well.
And I had a lot of anxiety surrounding races, but it's like I still go back to like my first run ever was with my dad. Not ever, but like the first dedicated run. I was like, Dad, I want to get in shape. I know you run in the morning. Can I do this? It was like right after Thanksgiving when I was like in middle school. He was like, sure. I put on several layers of his sweatshirts. I put on 2 of his hats. I was bundled. And he said, okay, let's go out. He was in the Navy. He's very like, I hope he doesn't watch this. He knows this is like the hardest run of my life. And so we go out and the neighborhood is super hilly. I still run those hills like several times a week. And we were running it and he said, you can't make me late for work. Okay. Well, you can't make me die. So I strategically on one of the steepest hills in the neighborhood, we got to the very crest of it and I knocked my head back and I like kind of got the hats to fall off of my head, which gave me a very needed reprieve and a big deep breath. And he took the hats, put them back on my head, which I was overheated at that point, but I wasn't going to argue. Put them back on my head and said, I'm going to be late for work. Let's keep going. You got to keep your heat in. Okay. Got home, lost my guts, did not feel well. So that was a poor choice. But I learned a lot from that run. And then I learned a lot from races along the way. And I found that the more I dread running in general, the worse it's going to be. And I've learned over the years that I need to find little joy and I need to create moments for myself that keep me ticking along because I've had those moments. And even today at the start line, I'd never go out strong. I always hold back in the first 2 miles. And then I settle in and then I hit a progression, which that's how I always pace it. And you like right out of the gates with everybody else. For me, it's about creating these small moments. For me, it's about like noticing, especially on like training days where it's like, oh my gosh, it's so early. And I really don't feel like running in the dark, or I really don't really feel like running that fast for that amount of time. But I recognize that it's all in an effort to get me to a thing that I now enjoy, right? I enjoy running races and I don't race them. I do not race. Anybody that's ever seen me near a start line, I like your hype person. You want me with you in the last half mile because I will cheer you on any second. I will tell you like, go for it. You take the place. Like I give it away. Like I don't want it. I don't want it. And there are people that want it. I don't race these things. Yeah. I go out and I run them. The Wilmington one, I just decided that week that I was going to run it. And granted, now I had been in shape. I had the volume for it. But I just decided, yeah, it's going to be a nice weekend. And it's in Wilmington. It's close. I could run that. And, I think I'm going to do it. And so I did. And it wasn't about running a race. I remember in the last mile, I was with this girl for the majority of the time. We were in probably the same age bracket. And at the very end, she started like pulling away. And then I held pace with her. And then I started pulling away. And then she caught up to me. And then I said, we've got 0.1 left. It's a sprint to the finish. Go take it home. She was like, are you serious? I was like, yeah, I don't want it. But I don't like to race. But I love racing events. And here's why. One, it is daylight.
Yes.
I am not running at 0 dark 30. Which means my body's awake, which means my fuel's hitting right, which means that I can run. And I do. 2, roads are blocked. It's safe. And that's safety that's built into those events. Now, granted, it's not always safe. I mean, like, look what happened in Boston in 2012. There are things that happen, right? But I'm sorry. Sorry, that was. But there are like safety things that like prevent like the normal things that I worry about. Like,
you can still get injured. Like, there's still things.
Yeah, there's things that could happen,
Yes.
But there's safety parameters built in, and I really appreciate those safety parameters for me. I also 3 enjoy watching people. Because you can tell like what the motivations behind someone's run are just by watching them and how they're preparing to run and what they're doing. And notice, like, you know, everybody goes like really inward during races. I think that's so odd because I am like the most extroverted introvert you will ever meet. I get my energy from like sitting with myself. But at the same time, I'm very outward. I like looking, I like noticing things. So when I'm out and about, it's like, what's going on over there? What are they doing?
What you doing?
And I also recognize that I got here because I've had so much support. I've had Greg and I configuring the schedule. My mom and dad came to watch the kids this morning. They were in our house at 6:30 so we could like drive over downtown, go park at the high school. I mean, there's people that commit to it. And then once you show up to race day, there's the entire crew of people that blocked the roads, that showed up to do their job. There's the pacers, there's the water stations, there's all of the volunteers that put this event together so you can have a safe and nice experience. And really, I mean, it's just this beautiful place. So there's so many things that have to come together. Mm-hmm. And when I'm running, because I don't race it, when I'm running in these events, I say that gratitude gives me wings. Like, I literally feel like I'm flying. I see people that are showing up and doing, like, this one girl showed up in her driveway with pom-poms. She was out there doing the most. I was like, you got this right. That's how you cheer on it. She was like giving it everything she had. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that's what we need. We need more people like that. We need more hype people. Mm-hmm. But at one point, we were getting ready to turn on Locust Lane. We were probably like 3 miles in or something.
Yeah.
And we're running. I'm doing my thing. Greg will tell you what my thing is. And what is my thing, Greg? What do I do?
You're like the Oprah of thank yous. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here. That is Alysha.
No, thank you for the water, but thank you for being here. You're doing the most.
You're doing great today. I'm over here.
So we're running. We're getting ready to turn on Locust Lane. And this one guy was running. He was like, listen, you're out here saying thank you to everybody. You're like chattering away. You're about to lose your partner.
Yeah. He called me out. I was like, wait a second, sir.
But then he says, like, how are you doing this? Because I'm huffing. I can't say anything. I said, listen, the more you can enjoy the journey, mm-hmm. the more you express gratitude for everything that led to this moment and express gratitude for even the opportunity to show up for yourself in this way, the more you can enjoy each step and find peace and freedom and energy. And you can create these micro moments just by saying, thank you for being here, or noticing like somebody's got a Phillies hat, go Phils, right? Like whether you follow sports or not, you can notice something about somebody, they get jazzed up, you literally get that energy back. Literally get that energy back.
Yeah.
How could you not? So then later in the course, I don't know if you heard him.
The same guy?
The same
No,
guy.
I was just focused on passing him.
Same guy. Later in the course, we're running. And he was at that point a little bit ahead of us. And he took my thing. He was like, thank you for being here. And I heard him say it to a couple of people and thanked somebody for like giving him the water. I was like, you took my thing. But that was like really cool. Like the more we can spread gratitude, the more everybody gets wings. And I mean, it really carries me. When I see people outside, doesn't matter what they're doing, I run better. Because I'm like, wow, they're really showing up for themselves. I'm going to show up for myself.
Yep.
So gratitude is my whole big thing. I feed on like that energy of race day, but I no longer dread it because I have no expectations going into these things. I just like, with my only expectation is that I just got to go in, have a good time. I gotta get my little medal at the end. They had shirts, but guess what? We also got socks. They gave us socks. I was so excited. So, Greg, anyways, we're going to wrap this up.
Reel it in.
What's next for you? Because I know that this is a big stretch, and that was the last thing that I had asked you originally, and then you kind of pivoted, and I pivoted back, and all that jazz.
I'm going to rest for a little while. I'm going to not quit. I'm going to rest. So tomorrow, I'll probably just shake out the legs.
Gotta shake out the legs.
Go back to, I do Monday and Thursday yoga. I'm looking forward to that on Monday and Thursday. Might incorporate the bike a little bit more, a little more low impact. But similar to like our training program, Wednesdays will be an interval day, whether that be on the bike, whether that be on the rower or the treadmill. So like keeping some of the structure that I got out of that is next for me. I'm feeling like a 10K is the jam. I feel like that's a good distance for me to be like, yeah, I ran further than a 5K, but I didn't run a half marathon.
Sure.
I also have, so I feel like 10K.
Okay.
I will probably try and do Wilmington in the spring because that's a flatter course. Or I'll look for flatter courses.
I mean, it's way flatter than Kennett.
Yeah, I mean, I will probably look to do another one at some point. I wouldn't say like I'm a one and done. It's still a challenge, but I'm not like my friend Adam and I were texting about it today. Who he has run marathons and ultras and 100-mile trails and just wild. And his text was like, "Are you signed up for a whole bunch again?" I was like, "No, no. I want to sit down. I want to sit down right now."
He found joy in that journey.
Yeah, and I find joy in everything, right? Like that's how you have to live. But for now, my joy will be in sitting and flush outs and a little more low impact. I mean, look, right now I feel great. Right in this moment.
You got to move tomorrow.
Oh yeah, I'm totally moving tomorrow. I feel great.
You can't just sit.
Yeah, there's no pressure on my feet right now.
Yourself.
That's great. But so that's for me.
Interesting.
Just keep going. Just do something different.
Yeah.
Probably will not be running marathon.
No.
Do not foresee that. I won't say never because I'm dumb and I'll probably try it at some point. It is not this day.
You don't want to chase after bright shiny objects?
No.
Good to know.
I have a wonderful family that I like to spend time with, and
I understand.
We'll take that.
It takes a whole support network to be able to run a marathon,
yes.
even a half marathon. But
that was a lot, yeah. So,
a lot.
Cool. Thanks for listening, everybody. Thank
Yeah.
you for
Thank
listening.
you for being out here doing
Who are
this.
you gonna thank after this? It better not be us, because you're like, please don't. No. But who are you gonna thank tomorrow, the next day, day after that?
Create your moments. Find gratitude. There's something always to be grateful for, even when you're huffing and puffing.
Go. Yeah, I'm still here, still kicking.
Gives you wings. At least I like to think so.
Good night, everybody. Good morning. Good afternoon, whenever you're watching
Probably,
this.
who knows?
You know, we've got lives. Thank you.
Thank you.